Hi, welcome to the Gemara on Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. This video you'll have to listen even more closely than usual because I lost my voice, but we're going to try this anyway. So we're starting on the very bottom of Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar said, "Mai dichtiv, what is it that is written? Lo yigra mitzadik einav." Put that in yellow because it's a pasuk. So what is the meaning of this verse? Which means something like, God will not take his eyes away from the tzaddikim. You can see the full pasuk down here somewhere. God doesn't withdraw his eyes from the righteous, and he sets kings on the throne forever, and they're exalted. So that is the pasuk, and what is meant by this pasuk? Here's the answer. Bischar tzniut shehayta ba berachel, zachta v'yatza mimena Shaul. In the merit of the, we'll call it the modesty or the humility that existed within Rachel, she merited, and as a result, Shaul was one of her descendants. Uvischar tzniut shehaya bo b'Shaul, and in the merit of the modesty or humility that was part of Shaul's character, zacha v'yatzat mimenu Esther. He merited to have Esther as one of his descendants. Umay tzniut hayta ba berachel, and what special humility, what was the special character trait that appeared in Rachel? How do we see it? Tichtiv, as it says in the pasuk in Breshit, vayaged Yaakov leRachel ki achi aviyahu. When Yaakov and Rachel meet, so Yaakov says to Rachel that he is the brother of her father. And the Gemara asks, V'chi achi aviyahu? Is he really the brother of her father? V'halo ben achot aviyahu. No, he's actually the son of the sister of her father. It's a different family relationship than what Yaakov actually says. Ella amarla, rather, here's what he said to her. Min sabeli, marry me. Yaakov said to Rachel, marry me. Amrale, she said to him, in, yes, I will marry you. Mihu, however, Abba Ramahu, my father is a cheater or a trickster. And you won't be able to handle him. Amarla, he said back to her, Achiv ana beramaut, I am his brother in trickery, his brother in cheating. And that's the Achi Aviyah. That's why the pasuk says he's the brother of her father. Amrale, she said to him, Umi shari l'tzadiki l'skuye beramiyuta. Who says that it's okay? Is it allowed, right? Mishari, is it really allowed for tzaddikim to follow in the path of cheating, of trickery? Amarla in. He says back to her, yes, in fact it is. And he quotes a pasuk, Im navar titbar v'im ikesh titpel. A pasuk from Shmuel that basically means with pure people you deal righteously, and with wicked people you can cheat them or trick them. That's down here. With the pure you show yourself pure, and with the crooked you show yourself subtle. So it's okay to trick bad people, is basically what Yaakov says back to Rachel. Amarla, umay ramiyuta. So he said to Rachel, what is the trickery? What's your father going to try to do to me? Why are you so worried about this trickery? Amrale, so she said to him, Itli achta de kashisha minai. I have a sister who is older than I am. Just punctuate that. I have a sister who's older than I am. Velo min savli makama. And he's not going to marry me before her. That's just not going to happen. Masar la simanim. So he gave her simanim. He gave her some kind of signs. Yaakov gave Rachel some kind of signs so that he would know in the moment that she was really Rachel and not Leah. Kimat alele, when the night came, meaning the wedding night, the night that they were supposed to get married, and it was supposed to be Rachel, Amra, she said, meaning Rachel said, Hashta michsafa achtai. Now my sister will be embarrassed. Misartinu nihila. She gave them to her. So she gave the signs to her sister, lest her sister be embarrassed. V'hainu dichtiv, and this is what is written in Breshit. V'hi b'boker v'hi Leah. And behold, in the morning, behold, or it happened in the morning, behold, it was Leah. Michlal da'ad hashta lav Leah he? Does this mean that up until then it hadn't been Leah? Just in the morning it was Leah? Ella, rather, mituch simanin shemasra Rachel Leah, lo hava yad da'ad hashta. Because of the simanim, because of these signs that Rachel gave Leah, he didn't know until then that it was actually Leah and not Rachel. He really thought it was Rachel all night long. Lefichach, therefore, zachta v'yatza mimena Shaul. She merited, and Shaul was one of her descendants. Umat tzniut hayta b'Shaul, and what kind of tzniut existed in Shaul? How did we see this character trait manifest with him? Dichtiv ve'tzvar hamelucha lo higid lo, asher amar Shmuel. He didn't. Shmuel had told him about the kingship, meaning Shmuel had told him that he was going to be king, and he didn't reveal that. He was meant to keep it a secret, and he kept it a secret. That is in Shmuel. Over here, Shmuel said to his uncle, right? He told us this about the donkeys, but he didn't tell his uncle that Shmuel had said that he would be king. By the way, just to catch up on Rashi's a little bit, Rashi says specifically, in terms of the tzniut aspect, so Rachel was very tzenua. Shaul. She was tzenua and he was tzenua. They both have this tzniut aspect. Rashi says in the Targum of the Megillah, Miaches Mordechai ve'oseu asiri l'Shaul, u'mishaul ad Binyamin uktiv hi Esther bat dodo ve'ein lo raya acheret b'ktivim she'yatza mishaul. So the only proof that Esther was a descendant of Shaul comes from here in the Megillah. Rashi is just letting you know. And also another important Rashi, this will be important for your homework questions as well. When Rachel gives Leah the simanim, so Masartan, she gives the simanim to Leah, and the tzniut, the humility that she showed, was in not publicizing the fact. She never says in the Torah, this is like an answer to why the Midrash doesn't appear in the Torah, she never tells anyone that she gave the simanim to her sister. She keeps that a secret. Okay, going on in the Gemara. So that was Shaul's form of tzniut, of modesty. Zachavi yatzat mimenu Esther. We already saw that's only referenced in the Megillah itself, but it seems that Esther was a descendant of Shaul. The Amar Rabbi Elazar, and another statement of Rabbi Elazar's, K'shakadosh Baruch Hu posek dula la'adam, posek levanav u'livnei vanav ad sof kol hadorot. When God gives greatness to a person, when he gives that attribute of greatness to a person, he also gives it to that person's descendants and the descendants of their descendants into eternity. Shnei Amar, as it says, V'yoshivem lanetzach v'yigbehu. That's the continuation of the pasuk. This pasuk up here, Lo yigra mitzadikei nav, right? That he then puts them. God always looks at tzaddikim and he puts them on thrones forever and raises them up. So it's a done deal once somebody is great. V'im higis da'ato, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashpilo. And if he becomes too higis da'ato, he becomes too haughty, too arrogant, then God brings him back down. Shnei Amar, v'im asurim b'zikim v'gomer. That God will bring him down if he gets too haughty. I'm going to put that in yellow. And this is based on also a pasuk in Eov, the next pasuk in Eov, which says if they're bound in chains, they'll be tied up in cords of affliction. So it's a verse of punishment. If they do something wrong, then they will no longer have this sort of forever thing. Rashi explains that here, that the two psukim are together. Hachi samchei krai ve'yoshivem lanetzach v'yigbeu ve'im asurim b'zikim. Right, the two verses about the verse about being raised up forever and the verse about being tied up in chains, those come one after the other. Right? If they raise themselves up, then they become subject to being poor and suffering. Now we're moving on in the Megillah itself. Ma'amar Mordechai Esther osa. Esther did what Mordechai told her to do. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah explains this pasuk as follows: Shahayta mare damnida l'chachamim. That she would show damnida to the rabbis. When she saw blood, and she thought that it was potentially blood that would make her anida, that would make her ritually impure, she would show it to the chachamim to determine whether or not it was pure. Because some types of blood are considered in the category of damnida and do make a woman impure, and some types do not. We'll talk more about this in class, but according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, this is what it means that Esther would follow Mordechai's directions. Ka'asher hayta be'omna ito. That's the continuation of that pasuk, just as she did when he was raising her. Amar Rabba Bar Lema, it's I think changed to Amar Rav in the Vilna Shas. Shahayta omedet mecheko shel Achashverosh v'tovelet v'yoshevet b'cheko shel Mordechai. She would get up from lying in the embrace of Achashverosh, and she would go and immerse herself in the mikveh, or wash herself, and then go and lie down with Mordechai. Rashi on this comments, Tovelet, that she would immerse herself or wash herself, Rashi says machmat nikiyut, because of cleanliness. Shelo tehem usal tzaddik mishchivato shel Achashverosh, so that the tzaddik, Mordechai, wouldn't be grossed out by her having just slept with Achashverosh. We'll talk more about this in class, whether she was using the mikveh or just washing herself between the two sexual encounters, and what that means and what that says about Esther. Your questions are on this sheet below, and that's the end of this sheet, and that's the end of your homework.